Hey, welcome to JG3 Reviews. I'm James, and today I want to look at the TWSBI Diamond 580 ALR. I got through it this time. The Diamond... Now I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm just not even going to say it again. So this pen has been all over the place. And so you might be thinking, really? Another person is reviewing this pen? Yeah, another person is reviewing this pen. I actually tried not to buy it, though. I was determined that I was not going to buy this pen. I looked at it a lot. I considered clicking on that pre-order button weeks and weeks ago. And I just kept thinking, no, I'm not going to do that. It's just a color. But I really like that color. But it's just a color, but it's blue. It's just a color, but it's a demonstrator pen. And it's a blue demonstrator pen. But no, I didn't do it. I didn't buy it, and I didn't pre-order it. And I just kept thinking, no, James, stay strong. Don't do it. And then something happened. This is what happened. And actually, this is going to be a bigger part of the review than the fact that this is the Prussian Blue 580. I wanted to get a stub nib, and I considered just getting a nib for a pen that I already owned, and that might have been a good idea. But what happened was I had ordered also way back before the COVID-19 stuff, a Hero pen with stub nibs, and actually came with 3 different size stub nibs. I wasn't expecting much. I paid $4 for this pen with free shipping from China. It took forever to get here because I ordered it like a week before the Chinese shutdown. And so then I waited and waited and waited. When I finally got it, and I'll give a review later on that particular pen because it's a great budget stub. When I finally got it, it's either a 1 or a 1.1 millimeter stub nib in that set was so ridiculously good for the price that I paid for that I got bit by the stub bug all over. And I thought, maybe I'll try some others as well and kind of see, because if this one is this good, how good could some of these other manufacturers make a stub nib? And so I considered a Lamy stub. I considered a TWSBI stub. I thought about getting it in just a Go or in an Eco or something like that. But I thought, well, I've got to go and I've got an Eco. But I'm not gonna get on the bandwagon. I'm not gonna buy that Prussian Blue Diamond 580 ALR. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. And then I thought, 1.1 millimeter stub, Prussian Blue, Demonstrator, and now we're here with a review of the 1.1 stub nib. I think I need help. I think you think I need help. I think I know you think I need help. But let's flip the camera and look at the pen anyway. All right, let's take a closer look at the Diamond 580 ALR. First, this box actually comes in a cardboard box, and it has these 2 things inside, and this is important. This is a reminder that you do not have included with this bearing grease, and so that's going to be important. Don't wash that off. Don't clean it off. That's what it's telling you, so that your pen will remain in good working order. Then you get the instructions on the filling of the pen. Always important stuff, right? So that's good. And on the back, you have kind of just a philosophy of why they made the pen the way they did and what they're seeking after and what their important principles are in making pens over at TWSBI. Then you get this case. And this case, I have to say, and I mean this as a compliment, it's very Apple-esque, isn't it? I don't know that this would be, if you were saying, well, what's the Apple of the fountain pen? That might actually be the Muji, I think, the aluminum pen. It looks like a little MacBook Pro recycled into a fountain pen. But this case has that same kind of design, and depending on how much you like that, you might like that. So some people are really into the cases. Now, I put them away into storage, but I do like this. It's nicely done. So when you get your 580, you get it in that case, and let me show you a little bit about that before we get to the pen. When you raise this up and look inside, you will find the wrench for maintaining your pen and silicone grease. They don't give bearing grease, but they do give silicone grease, and that is for servicing the piston inside the pen. So all of that is taken care of now, right? So here it is, the Prussian Blue Diamond 580 ALR. I'm going to get that down. And it is a striking color. I really like it. It's probably more of a lighter blue than you might have expected, and yet just really nicely done. Some cameras make it look a bit darker maybe than it is, but it's kind of a teal blue. Really, really nice. The ink that I have in here, of course it does not come filled up, is the Birmingham Imperial Purple from Birmingham Pen Company. And that one I don't know if it's available right now, because I know they sold out and they're in the middle of a changeover to making their own inks. So you're not going to maybe be able to get that for a little bit, but I would keep watching, because if they come back out with that or another shade of purple, it's excellent. It's well done. I really like it. And it's not maybe the first color you would think of with a Prussian blue pen. I guess I could have been more stereotypical and gone with a blue. But this purple is really, I think, a nice pairing with this pen, and even more so when you start to see it right when we get to that. So around the ring here at the base of the cap, it says TWSBI on the front, and that model number, the 580 ALR, and made in Taiwan. All of these, the band here, the interior parts that are Prussian blue, the grip section itself, and the band around the top of the cap at the finial. These are all aluminum. That's the AL in 580 ALR. And so those are all nicely done, nicely machined. The Prussian blue finish is just, on my example here, it's perfect. So really very pleased with the appearance of the pen and how well it's made. Like a lot of other people who review this pen, because I looked at a couple of reviews before I ordered. I'm just like everybody else. This smoky gray plastic insert in the cap, like everybody else, I really wish that were either a frosted white or a clear plastic. The smoky gray just doesn't really, I don't know, it looks dirty. To me, it just always looks dirty. And so I get why people mention that every time. At the top is the TWSBI logo, very nicely done, and it is on all the pens above the Eco. It's this type of a logo and finial, and I like that. That is grooved. Let's see if I can get that to focus. It's grooved in that ring around. Then this one is smooth with just 2 grooves. And then you come to this end, the working end of the piston, right? For our sake. And like other pens, you pull this out and then you turn that piston and it will go down and push out the air. And then when you turn the other way, it comes back up and pulls in the ink. Simple, reliable, lots of volume. I'm a fan of piston fillers. Not everybody is, but I'm a fan of piston fillers, and so I really do like this pen. Steel clip, nice and strong, very well made, you can tell, and a nice incline at that point so that when you're putting it into your shirt pocket, it grabs nice and easily and doesn't stop it instead and crunch up your fabric. So that's the design of the exterior of the pen. Let's take that cap off. It does post, but when it posts, it's rather, let me just go ahead and show you. It posts, it's secure, but it is long and it throws off the balance of the pen. So I would write with this one unposted. And in general, pens that are piston fillers like this, I tend not to write with those posted. That's just me. So here is that section. Let's look at that. We'll look at that in the nib. The section, aluminum, very nice shade of Prussian blue. You notice you've got the O-ring here. This section is probably a point where people are going to like or dislike. I like it. It makes for a very secure hold, and your fingerprints are going to grab that, and that pen is not going to slip around. Since this one is a stub, especially, you want to have a good grip so that you keep that pen in its sweet spot while you're writing, and that helps. The other thing is it's a metal section, and if you typically don't like metal sections because they're too slippery, this may be the metal section for you, because slippery it is not. Look at that nib, and they use Yovo nibs, and this is a 1.1 millimeter stub with the regular plastic feed. This does come as a unit. Now this is a reason the 580 is of course more expensive than the Eco by a chunk, and you might say, well, I could just buy a Stub Eco, and I have a medium Eco, and have them both for the same price, and you can do that. Okay, well, obviously you can do that, but there's a case for that. However, unlike the Eco, this is an interchangeable modular stub nib unit, nib and feed unit, and so every nib that's available in the TWSBI line is available as a unit that you can buy and swap them out. It screws in, and the instructions are over there on that sheet, and you're able to swap out the nibs. So if you say, I want a stub, but I only use that on certain occasions, the rest of the time I want to write with a fine, a medium, or whatever, go get that too. And you get 2 or 3 different nib units, and you've come in cheaper than the equal number of Ecos. It's just, play with the numbers with what your own preferences would be and see how that works for you. But it is a possibility. I like their nibs. They are well done, nicely decorated. Again, you have the logo there, and it does tell you what it is. Never like a nib that doesn't tell you what it is, even when it's obvious, like a stub. Writes really well, so I'm anxious to get to the writing test on this pen, but it does write very well. It feels great in the hand. It has a nice balance, and I'll put up the specifications so that you can get the weight, the length, and all of that good stuff. But just well done, really well done. And whether you get it in this Prussian blue or in the other finishes that are available, you're getting a nice pen, and really well made, and I would expect one that is going to last really for quite a long time. Let's do a quick size comparison. I sometimes want to jump ahead and forget that part. So there is the TWSBI Diamond 580. This, a very similar pen for some people, an uncomfortably similar pen, is the Wingsung 3013. I do like demonstrators, I tell you. And there you can see that's very similar in size. And here, let me swap those so that the perspective of the camera doesn't give you a false impression. So there you are. They're just about the exact same size. Back here is a Wingsung 601. I haven't reviewed that pen yet, but some of you have it. So that will give you a little bit of an idea of size. And again, just so the camera doesn't fool us, that Wingsung is just a little bit shorter and narrower than this. Let's see. I don't know what else I've got. I've got this. This is a Soviet Yaroslavl, but I can't imagine that helps a whole lot. Not exactly the most common fountain pen in the world. But I will say this, if you have a Cross Rollerball Century or something like that, that's about the same as the Yaroslavl fountain pen, or vice versa. It may be the same as the Cross. However, that went down in American and Soviet Cold War history. We'll talk about that later. So anyway, not in this review, but later. But that gives you an idea of the size. Now, let's get to that writing. All right, let's put this to a writing test. This is the TWSBI, and it is the 580. And it's the AL for aluminum, and R for revised. So there are updates to this pen in terms of ink capacity and the way that the piston and its knob work. I understand that's where they made the more significant improvements. Really, it's just a well-done pen. And this is Birmingham Imperial Purple. Oh, I'm running out of room. Imperial Purple. I am recording this on July 4th weekend, so if one of these words is going to get shortened, it's probably going to be Imperial. I think that fits. So, anywho, I had to be a little mischievous, right? I'm going to be quiet and let you hear. This is a very smooth nib. And for wetness, And that's a nice wetness for a stub like this. It's not crazy wet. I know that looks like a large smear, but if you look, it's actually kind of thin and dry, so plenty of ink, but it's not gushy. Well balanced, I think. Of course, that's always going to be a combination of both nib and ink, so your mileage may vary. Now, a nice thing about the stub nib, and again, this is why you get it, is you get this nice line variation. You don't get nice little things there, but you get nice line variation that it just takes no effort. As long as you have the pen in its sweet spot, which is not hard to do in this pen, I don't think, then that's the result that you're going to get. And so just know that it's nice that way. So that gives you some idea. I'm going to continue writing a little bit. And if I just write, not really thinking, not just trying to make sure that it's lined up, you can write just at your normal speed and you're still going to get some variation. Just make sure I kind of was not quite in the sweet spot there. But you get the idea. You're going to get, it's thin, quite thin, horizontally, and then when you've got that coming down, you're going to get good width. Now, I'm not pressing. This is not a flex nib. It looks, the kind of the neat thing about it is it looks like you flexed, but you're not really doing any of that. You're just writing and letting the width and the thinness, depending on which stroke, give you that variation. And so it's really it's like no maintenance. The problem I have with some flex nibs is one, and this is kind of out of my area. I don't have a lot of experience with flex nibs, but I understand that flex nibs of the past were much better. And I don't really quite understand that. I've heard explanations on metallurgy and engineering and machinery used and things like that on why we can't replicate the old flex nibs. But you would think in 2020, none of those explanations ever answer the question for me, which is why can't they be as good as they used to be? And I hear the explanations, and I'm sure I'm just not getting it. But I'm not getting it. But some modern flex nibs are really quite good. However, those that I have, which is just very thin supply, are just not very flexible, or at least not as I would have thought that they would be. And the feeds have trouble keeping up, and you have to go very, very slow. This allows you to write in an almost your normal way, and you're going to get really nice line variation. And this is kind of middle of the road, what I've done for you here, kind of average. There are times where I've gotten it looking even better than that, of course, where I was taking my time or just not on camera. It's kind of I always write better off camera. So anyway, I really love and enjoy the difference in writing style that the pen enables you to do. And it does it with so little effort, and it does it so well. And this particular stub is great quality, very smooth, and just easy. It's easy to write with. So I highly recommend it. I am enjoying this pen like crazy. And even though, I went crazy for the Prussian Blue, and I really like the design of the pen and yada, 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 that stub is what did it for me. It's what got me into the pen to begin with, and it's why it's definitely a keeper. This one's not going anywhere. I really like this pen. So God bless you. Have a great week. I hope you had a good 4th of July weekend if you're here in the States, and if you're elsewhere, I pray that you just have a great week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and God bless.